Okay, so we are now in the third round, the Elite Eight, and who am I facing? Not Jake Marangoni, the 32 seed Ethan Beller, and this dude is a beast, man. He came in as the true dark horse of this goddamn tournament because he didn't just barely beat Jake. He beat Jake by 3 points, which is goddamn admirable in the fourth round, no less. And then complete TKO in the second round against Antonio. And this guy, I just have nothing but respect. I can't wait to play this guy. Hope he kicks ass and hope he plays his best game because I'm going to try to play my best game and move on to the final four. So let's do this, Big.
As Dustin said, I have nothing but respect for him. He's a great competitor. I didn't expect to get this far. Beating Jake was good enough for me, but then played Antonio, had a good game against him, beat him, and at this point, I really want to break into the Final Four. I mean, Elite Eight's good, but I'm hungry now, and I'm excited to play. But I know Dustin's going to bring his A game, so yeah, I'm just ready to get into it. Let's do it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Multiplex Movie Warzone. I'm your host, Kaleb Boatman, or if you're looking at some polls, I am Kaleb Borman, because of my horrible spelling. That happened. Anyway, we've got a really great match. We've got the number 32 seed, Ethan Beller, the man who has just been upsetting throughout this whole tournament, going up against someone who has also really impressed people throughout this whole tournament, Dustin Mason. Both these gentlemen have just been tearing through this tournament, and now only one of them is going to be able to get through to round 4. This is going to be very interesting, but before we bring in our competitors, Ryan, how are you feeling about this match? Ryan the Quote Permison.
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you for having me. I feel really good about this match. We've got a candidate for Rookie of the Year going up against a competitor who has just pretty much mopped the floor with a good part of his opponents in his career thus far. But you know what they say in these sort of tournaments, in these sort of matches, anything can happen. Anything is possible. I like to believe that myself. So let's get into this thing. I wish both competitors the best of luck. This is going to be another great one. Let's get into it.
Oh, definitely, without a doubt. So, introducing first coming into the ring here with 2 wins, 0 defeats, representing a new team, Cult Classics, Ethan, the Big Easy Beller. Ethan, how are you feeling about this match?
I'm feeling good. I know that at the very least, it'll be a good one. You know, I hope I can match Dustin because I've seen him play and he's great. But I'm coming in ready to play. Okay,
great. And also introducing with a record of 3 wins, 1 defeat, he is Dustin the Duster Mason. Dustin, how are you feeling about this match?
Feeling chill, bro, and I can't wait to just play this match, man. I'm hyped, and I just can't wait. Let's do it.
Okay, great.
Best of luck to Ethan.
You too, man.
Well, without further ado, let's jump into round 1. We're going to give you 8 questions, 8 different categories. You're going to write them down on a whiteboard or piece of paper if you prefer. If you get all 8 correct, you're going to get a bonus question. So, I will give you your first question in the category of prequels, sequels, and reboots. What is the full title of the 3rd XXX movie? I have never seen a film in this franchise, Ryan.
I've seen 2 of the 3, so that's all I gotta say about that.
3, 2, 1.
Repeat.
Who was that? Is it Ethan?
Yeah, it's a repeat. Okay. I mean, you can just take it off. I finished writing it. So you can just take
we'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
What is the full title of the 3rd XXX movie? And just in case, we'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Ethan.
XXX: The Return of Xander Cage.
And Dustin.
Same thing. XXX: The Return of Xander Cage.
Okay, both gentlemen on the board. I would like to point out that my board says ED, which I think is very funny because I use the 2 initials. Ryan, over to you.
You and your scoreboards. Anyhow, gentlemen, your next question is going to come in the category of sci-fi fantasy. Sci-fi fantasy. In Willow, what is the evil queen trying to take from Willow?
This is a movie that a lot of people grew up with. I'm not one of those people.
I have yet to see it, so I cannot comment nor speculate on this film
5,
whatsoever.
4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down, Dustin.
I put an egg.
Incorrect, Ethan.
A baby girl.
We can accept that. A baby is what we had, but I'm guessing it is a girl. I haven't seen the movie, but I will assume that is correct. Danny DeVito is not the evil person in the movie, Dustin. I am sorry. Not trying to.
I don't know. I just thought of an egg for no reason. I don't know why.
Can you spare an egg in this trying time? Anyway, the next question in the category of actors and actresses. In the 2018 Glenn Close film, The Wife, who played her husband? I'm going to guess you haven't seen this film, Ryan.
No one has.
No one has. I don't even know how it got nominated or won Oscars that year.
It didn't win Oscars.
Oh,
5,
it didn't? Okay.
4,
Never mind.
3,
Because no one saw it.
1.
I did hear it was nominated, though.
Okay, Ethan.
Conspiracies.
I don't know if this is right. Jonathan Pryce.
Yeah.
And Dustin.
Johnny John Price from Brazil.
Yes, Jonathan Pryce is correct.
Okay.
All right. Gentlemen, your next question comes in the category of classics. Classics. Which Hitchcock movie was made to appear as if it was done in one long shot?
I am a big Alfred Hitchcock fan. Ryan, I understand you've kind of gone through a watch through of his work recently.
Yep, I've seen a number of his films recently, and they've all been really, really good. I'm a big fan of Hitchcock now.
2, 1. Okay, pens down. Dustin.
Was it Rear Window?
And Ethan.
My favorite one, Rope.
Ethan is correct.
Yep, it was Rope.
Okay. Now we're in the category of directors. Who directed The Burbs?
Oh.
I really like this movie, actually.
This question came up during a certain great moment in Schmoedown history.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring that part up, but okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down, Ethan.
Joe Dante.
And Dustin.
Joe Dante.
That is correct. Ryan.
All right, gentlemen, your next question is in the category of horror. Horror. What 80s film tells the story of a coastal town being attacked by the ghosts of a ship that had been sunk 100 years earlier?
We get a technical repeat. You kind of cut out in the beginning.
Yeah, give him.
All righty. In the category of horror, what 80s film tells the story of a coastal town being attacked by the ghosts of a ship that had been sunk 100 years earlier?
Have you ever been haunted, Ryan?
By some certain bad films in my career, yeah.
4, 3, 2.
Looking at you, Michael
1.
Bay.
Okay, Ethan.
That was The Fog.
And Dustin.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Next question, your penultimate question, comes in the category of animation. Movies drawn on.
Wait, did he get that right?
Yeah, The Fog is correct. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Right,
it was The Fog. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, The Fog is correct.
The Fog. Yeah.
My bad.
Category of animation. These are films drawn by hand or on computer. What 2018 animated film featured Eddie Redmayne as the voice of Doug and Tom Hiddleston as Lord Newth?
Oh.
I know somebody named Doug. I don't know anybody named Lord Newth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pens down. Dustin.
Was it Early Man?
And Ethan?
I had Hotel Transylvania 3.
And it is Early Man. Dustin does get a point there, and no perfect rounds tonight.
All right, gentlemen, your last question in this round is going to come in the category of drama. Drama.
I won't say it.
Yeah, I'm kind of happy you don't have to say your Calebism. Anywho, your question in the category of drama is, what actor played Marcus, the boy in About a Boy? I've heard good things about this.
I've seen this movie. I think it's quite charming.
Okay.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It spawned a terrible TV show, though. Let's go over to Dustin.
Nicholas Hoult.
And Ethan?
I went Freddie Highmore.
Ooh, Nicholas Hoult is correct. So, with that, unless I'm mistaken in my score, I have Ethan with 6 points, Dustin with 5. So, they are neck and neck right here. So, anything can change, though, as we go into the wheel round. There's going to be 5 questions that you get in your category that is on the wheel. You're going to be 10 categories on the wheel. You get a chance to spin the wheel. If you like what you spin, you can keep it. Or if you don't like it, you can spin again, but then you're stuck with whatever you spin. If you get your category, you're going to get the question, get it right, you get 2 points. You go to multiple choice, you get 1 point. Or if you get it wrong, the opponent gets the chance to steal. So, Ethan, you do have a 1-point lead, and you are going to get a chance to spin or defer first. But first, I will give you the categories on our lovely wheel tonight, which are drama, sci-fi. That's actually not supposed to say sci-fi fantasy. That's supposed to say just sci-fi, but it's too late.
Whatever.
So, sci-fi. Resident Evil, which is Ethan's strength.
Wow.
Spinner's Choice. Dustin's strength of Jonah Hill movies. Christmas in July. Comedy. Dustin's strength of stoner movies. Opponent's choice. And Ethan's strength of Charlie Kaufman. So, Ethan, you are in the lead. Would you like to spin or defer?
I'll defer.
Okay, Dustin, this will be your spin.
Yay.
Spin is in.
What is it?
What is that?
Spinner's Choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Again, Jonah Hill.
Okay, Jonah Hill. Ryan, would you please like to give Dustin his question?
Fuck yeah.
Realm of Jonah Hill.
Yes, I will. As soon as I get to... there it is. All right. Dustin, your first question in the category of Jonah Hill is, what character does Jonah Hill voice in the Lego movie?
Oh, that's Green Lantern. Final answer.
That is correct. For 2 points.
It wouldn't be Ryan hosting unless he went like that.
I'm sorry, I can't help it.
What is that, Dana Carvey?
Okay.
Yeah, it was Chris Farley. Yeah, I grew up in the 90s.
No, it was Dana
but
Carvey. It sounded like.
it was Chris Farley acted, but yeah. Anywho, next question, the category of Jonah Hill, before I lose my mind. In The Watch, the 4 members of the Neighborhood Watch group are Jonah, Ben Stiller, Vince Vaughn, and
Richard
Tony.
Iowade. Final answer.
That is correct for another 2.
I knew that was going to be the goddamn
points.
question.
Your next question in the category of Jonah Hill. What item is Jonah trying to buy from Catherine Keener's eBay store in The 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Some like shoes, some disco shoes with goldfish in them.
We can accept that. We can accept that.
Okay.
What we had was boots, but that's close enough to where we can.
Yeah.
And it has goldfish in it, right?
Yes, they do have goldfish in them.
Yeah.
Goldfish. Oh, boy. All right, next question. The category of Jonah Hill. In what film does Jonah appear as one of Adam Sandler's children?
Click. Final answer.
That is correct for another 2 points. Clickety Click. One of the few Adam Sandler movies I actually enjoy. Come at me, bro. Anyway, your last question in the category of Jonah Hill is thus. In War Dogs, Jonah Hill and Miles Teller land a government contract providing arms to which country?
Multiple choice.
Your options are A, Afghanistan, B, Iraq, C, Syria, or D, Iran.
I'm going to use a repeat on that. Just repeat the whole question.
Oh, okay. In War Dogs, Jonah Hill and Miles Teller land a government contract providing arms to which country? Your options are A, Afghanistan, B, Iraq, C, Syria, or D, Iran.
I'm going to go Iraq.
I am sorry, that is incorrect. Ethan, chance for 1 point steal.
Iran.
I am sorry, that is also incorrect. We were actually looking for Afghanistan.
Yeah,
Afghanistan.
Well, that's still a very strong round from Dustin there, getting 13, well, being at 13 points, getting 8 points in that round. Ethan is still at 6. So, Ethan, this is going to be your spin. It's going to land on the category of drama, the category that you save for your mama. Do you want to keep that or spin again?
I'm going to spin again.
Not saving anything for his mama.
No.
And you also get spinner's choice.
Ooh.
All right. I will go with Resident Evil.
Okay. Very, very interesting. I will give you your questions in the category of Resident Evil.
Franchise I actually enjoy.
Doesn't really surprise me, though. Your first question, Ethan, category of Resident Evil. Resident Evil Retribution finds Alice seemingly living in a peaceful suburban environment with her husband Todd and her daughter Becky, who suffers from what handicap?
She is deaf.
Correct for 2 points. Next question, category of Residential Evil. How many of the Resident Evil films were directed by Paul W.S. Anderson?
4.
Correct for 2 more points. Next question, category of Residential Evil. In Resident Evil Afterlife, the safe haven in Alaska that Alice and the others are seeking turns out to be a cargo ship named what?
Arcadia.
Correct for 2 more points.
It's Resident Evil, not residential.
I know, I'm making jokes.
I prefer residential. You can keep saying it, Caleb.
Okay.
Yeah, right?
I was going to say it's a pretty nasty joke, but all right.
Next question, category Resident Evil here, Brian. Or Ryan. Which of the Resident Evil films did John Wick Chapter 2 and the Meg actress Ruby Rose appear in as the character Abigail?
The final chapter.
That is correct for 2 more points. And for a clean sweep of Resident Evil, in Afterlife and Retribution, what is the name of the bug-like devices the Red Queen tries to use to brainwash and control minds?
Multiple choice.
Okay, first time going multiple choice. Is it A, scarabs, B, arachnids, C, scorpions, or D, hornets?
Scarabs.
Correct for 1 point. So, with that, we are still very close. Ethan is at 15 points, getting a very good round, getting 9 points that round. And Dustin is still at 13. So only a 2-point difference between these two. Anything can happen as we go into the Pick Your Poison round. So what's going to happen here is we're going to let our competitors pick what they want for their 1, 2, 3, and 4 pointers. They're going to get to pick from 2000s Tom Cruise, scores and soundtracks, mystery thrillers, actors and actresses, and 90s movies. We're going to let them pick their categories right now, and we will get back to you right now. Well, our competitors have picked what they would like for their 1, 2, 3, and 4 pointers. Ethan has picked his 1-pointer in Tom Cruise, his 2-pointer in actors and actresses, his 3-pointer in 2000s, and his 4 in 90s. Whereas Dustin has picked his 1-pointer in 2000, his 2 in Tom Cruise, his 3 in 90s, and his 4 in actors and actresses. I'm going to be giving Dustin his questions, and Dustin, your 1-pointer in the category of 2000s. What is the title of the second Harold and Kumar movie?
Harold and Kumar escape from Guantanamo Bay.
Correct for 1 point. And since you are still 1 point behind, it's still over to you. Category Tom Cruise for 2 points. How many films directed by Christopher McQuarrie has Cruise appeared in?
Three. Final answer.
Correct for 2 points. We don't do final answers in singles.
No, I just forced to have it.
Yeah, I know. Okay. So that does jump it over to Ethan. Ryan, please give Ethan his 1-pointer in the category of Tom Cruise.
All right. Ethan, your first question in the category of Tom Cruise is your 1-pointer. Here we go. What is Tom Cruise's nickname in the iconic film known as Top Gun?
Maverick.
Damn right it is. And that is correct for a point, son. All right. Let's see. Still sticking with him, right, Caleb?
Yes, because Ethan has more questions.
All right. Let's see. All right, got it. All right, Ethan, your next question is going to come in the category of actors and actresses. Actors and actresses is your 2-pointer. Here it goes. Betty Davis and Joan Crawford play sisters in which 1962 film?
Five, 4, 3, 2,
Oh, I got it.
1.
All right, we were looking for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane was the correct answer in that 2-point question.
Okay,
All
so we stay with Ethan.
Yep. All right. Ethan, your next question is going to come in the category of 2000s. This is your 3-pointer. 2000s 3-pointer. Here we go. Who directed the Johnny Depp drug running film Blow?
Joel Schumacher.
Sorry, that is incorrect. We were looking for Ted Demme. Ted Demme.
Okay, because Dustin has more questions left, but they are tied. We do go over to Dustin now. In your 3-pointer in 90s, what former SNL cast member plays a hacker named Herman in Judge Dredd?
Rob Schneider.
Correct, for 3 points. Okay, so here's a situation. Ethan has his 4-pointer left. He hits it, moves over to Dustin. He misses. Dustin wins. Okay, Ryan, give Ethan his 4-pointer, category 90s.
All right, here it goes. Ethan, this question is going to come in the category of 90s. 90s movies, 4 points. Here we go. In Heart and Souls, how were the 4 people whose spirits are connected to Robert Downey Jr.'s character killed?
Congratulations, Dustin. A car crash.
We cannot accept car crash. It was specifically a bus crash. And your winner,
I knew that too. Wow.
Dustin, the Dr. Mason.
Hell of a game.
Can I challenge that? Because I feel like in real life, if a bus crashes, people just call it a car crash, you know?
We can put that under deliberation. You are issuing your official challenge?
Yeah, we got official
okay. Okay, official challenge. Okay, so a challenge is on the table. We will deliberate and get back to you shortly. Okay, so after deliberation, somebody actually went and watched the scene. We had to establish that if a car was involved in the actual crash, like a bus crashed into a car, then we would accept car crash. In the scene, a bus drives off a bridge. A car is not involved in the crash. A bus does not crash into a car, vice versa. It is a bus crash. A car is not involved, so we cannot accept Ethan's answer. So, with that, and your winner, Dustin the Duster Mason. Dustin, we'll go to you first. A really great game. How do you feel about that?
I feel really good, obviously winning, but like he really did put forth his best effort. I knew his Ted Demi question, but his 2-pointer was crazy. And Maverick, but like he killed the Resident Evil round. He killed me in the first round pretty much, and a lot of obscure questions. I thought I was going to be screwed, but once I got Jonah Hill again, besides the War Dogs question, which was an obscure question, admittedly, come on, compared to the other ones, but I got that again, so that's my strength. And then I haven't gotten a question wrong in round 3 yet, but Ethan did a hell of a job. He beat Jake still. I mean, you can't take that away from him. He TK'd Antonio, like I said, but I can't wait to move on to the Final Four, hopefully playing you, Caleb.
We'll see what happens. You are playing the winner of me or Kurt Kalakowski. How do you feel about playing either of those two, really?
Well, wow, I didn't know the winner, but
well, this match will be up.
Yeah, that's right. You're right, buddy, because it goes up tomorrow. But you're gonna win. You're gonna win. I'll see you in the next round.
Well, now that pressure's gonna make me choke, but okay. Ethan, you played a great game, man. You played a fantastic game, and you're gonna be back. You're one of the bright shining rookies right now. You're gonna be back. How are you feeling about what happened out there?
I'm obviously bummed out that I didn't win, but that's all right because I do think I played a good game, and Dustin's a really good player, so I'm happy to lose to him. I was happy to beat Jake and just move on past that. So make it to the third round is good enough for me. A couple of those questions in round 3 really got to me. I can't complain. I'm happy with where it was, and I definitely want to come back and play some more.
Well, great, yeah, and we will be happy to have you back. Do you have anybody specifically in mind that you would like to play?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would like to play. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen, but I would like to play Kirk Kalakowski. Almost had it on this one, but we'll see how that goes with you, obviously. But at some point, I'd like to play him.
Well, you know what? If Kirk loses to me, you guys would be at the same ranking, so that could potentially happen down the line. But we'll just have to see where that goes. But yeah, you played a great game, man.
Thank you.
This was one of our best matches I think we've had. This is another one that I can throw on the match of the year at the end of the year nominations probably. But with that being said, this has been a really great match. From my co-host, Ryan the Quote Permison, from our winner, Dustin Mason, from Ethan the Big Easy Beller, and from me, a little boat, Kaleb Boatman, or some
Cut out.
Bye. Oh, this has been Multiplex Movie Warzone. I won't do the thing because the universe is telling me not to. Bye.
Fuck it, we're live. I don't know. Okay, awesome. Welcome. We're here. The Nerdgasm Finals is upon us. We've had retirements from Movie Battleground. We've had knockouts. We've had TKOs. We've had people forgetting what, is it Tigerians or Targaryens? We've been all over the place, but tonight is decided here, and it's a family civil war. We have Tim, the Hulk Brzkala, taking on Robert, the Hobbit Parker. On paper, a Hulk should beat the shit out of a Hobbit. But guess what? This is Nerdgasm, and nothing is too sure. But I'm actually not a judge today because it's pretty much my two best friends, my family is battling each other, and I can't decide that. So we brought three amazing people in. Well, we brought one amazing person in and two Kalebs. We'll find out what happens at the end. But I'm going to first go to my co-commissioner. We started strong. We hit potholes. We found an amazing editor, but we are here at the finals. Brooklyn, are you excited for this match?
I am so excited for this to finally conclude. We started this back in December, and it is now the 28th of July. We are finally wrapping it up. My God, I'm glad this is over. But I think the two correct people are here to the finals. Both differing styles of debate, and I think that'll work out really well. Where it's not just going to be slobber knockers, where there's going to be some tactical stuff. There's going to be some maneuvering around, and I think that's what excites me for this match is because these guys know how to adapt on the fly.
Yes, I really like the theme of your opening. I think that's awesome. I can't wait to see more of it. I will go next to Mr. Aham, Mr. Flat Bill himself, Minnesota native, Kaleb Koho. You've been along for the ride. You've actually helped us main judge a lot of these matches. You even main judge one of them for sure. Are you excited for this? One of these people beat you. So will that come into play? Are you excited to see this match?
I'm going to be the most biased fucking judge and rule against the guy who kicked my ass on the worst day of my life like a bitch. No. These guys are both great. I respect both of them so much, and they got here on all their own merit, and I'm super excited to see this fight. And it's going to be one for the ages, so let's get it going.
And we'll go to Boatman. Boatman, we were desperate. We called upon you. You answered the call. No, I'm just kidding. Boatman, you're here. You're normally in Warzone. You're actually a great debater yourself in other leagues. You haven't made your debut yet in Nerdgasm. Are you excited for this match, this championship match, to see maybe a potential person that you might play against?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I do want to point one thing out, though. I went back in my messages to Brooklyn Vail. First thing I ever messaged Brooklyn Vail. This was on January 22nd, 2019. Hey, Brooklyn, you're in charge of Multiplex Nerdgasm, right? I know you're in the middle of a tournament, but I'd like to get a match here. Yeah, and Brooklyn said, actually, we're in the process of recording round 2, so we're going to get you a match real soon. We're going to start doing debuts real soon. Yeah, real soon. Yeah, it's July. So, but seriously, this is going to be a really good match. I'm really excited.
All right. Well, we had somebody call us out and talk a bunch of shit on us, Brooklyn. So good job of picking this one. I think actually Koho did. Now we're going to go to the two competitors. You guys are evenly ranked, but I'm going to go to the person that has maybe a little bit more behind the record. We'll give you maybe a little bit of an edge. It's Tim. Tim, you're coming in with 2 KOs in this. So I'm just going to go to you first. How are you feeling about this match? You're playing Robert. Yeah. You are actually in the same house right now. So could we see someone die on screen?
I don't think you're going to see anyone die on screen, unfortunately. But I am nervous. I'm always nervous before a match, whether it's fandom or Nerdgasm or whatever. Team, singles, whatever. I'm always nervous. But I have prepared like I never have before for this because I want to win. Robert is, great in fandom. That's where he reigns, and that's why he has 2 belts there. But I think, and so I really want to win this one to show that I'm good at stuff too. But at the end of the day, no matter what, if I lose, I still get to go home with his sister. So who's really the loser? Like, so I don't know. This will be a good match. Robert, I love you.
Nothing that the fan leagues have ever heard before, because yeah, we've never had this before, and that is one of the best sickest burns I've ever heard. Robert, try to show me the correct theme of your opening and respond to that without.
What the fuck do I say to that? You know, I had an opening statement provided, but I'm not going to say those words anymore out loud in the video. Look, Tim's a good guy, or at least I thought when I was in his wedding, but we'll see now. No, Tim's a good guy. He's the brother I never had and never wanted. But, you know, in general, no, he's a great debater. He and I have very different styles. And you give me shit for the themes, but also I think that, like, that's still a valid form of debate. So just because it may not be your style doesn't mean that, like, it's an invalid way of arguing. So give me shit all you want. It's still a good way to construct an argument. I have prepped for this more than I have for the last 2 Nerdgasm matches that I played. So I'm excited for this one. It's definitely going to be a good precedent for what comes forward between Tim and I, which is going to be an intense session of arm wrestling as soon as the camera stops rolling.
Yes. Again, you both got here on your own merits, on your own debate styles. Just because I give one person crap, that's the whole reason I'm not judging on this. So debate however you would like. But we are going to get right into question number 1. Guys, you know how it works, but for the people that don't, you will have a minute opening, followed by a 5-minute of freeform, back and forth. If you get into a close of filibustering or too angrily or over-talking each other, one of us, probably me, will step in, tell the other person to take time, and then I will kind of, if you watch my hand, I will kind of go back and forth to tell you to wrap up what you're saying so the other person can talk. We want it back and forth. We do not want just a bunch of rambling words, okay? And then it will close with a 1-minute closing. If you open the question, you will close the question. So we're going to get right into this with question number 1, guys. And it is a doozy. I think this was Robert. He picked Game of Thrones. The question that we came up with was best episode of Game of Thrones. Tim, you will open 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
When you think about Game of Thrones, or at least when I do, and most people that I know watch the show, you think about the heroes and the villains, the characters, and when I was picking the best episode, I thought of the best episode that accurately shows the greatest heroes and the greatest villains duking it out for Westeros. And so I picked the Battle of the Bastards, which is season 6, episode 9. Like I said, when you think about villains, Ramsay Bolton, he's the worst. When you think about heroes, Jon Snow, he's the one most people cling on to, most people think is the best hero. He's the person that people gravitate towards most. Not everybody, but most people gravitate towards him. And so to see them finally go head-to-head in a battle that's shot unlike anything we've ever seen before in TV or film, and culminate in the most satisfying death of a villain we've ever seen, ever. The entire episode is incredibly satisfying from beginning, middle to end. There's never a dull moment in the entire episode. And that's why Battle of the Bastards is the best episode of Game of Thrones, because it's exciting, it's awesome, it's fantastic.
Perfect timing, perfect timing. It's like you've been here before. Next up, Robert, 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
You mentioned something interesting there, which is that Game of Thrones was built on its characters, and it was built on realistic characters, actual things that you could see happening, almost like it was history. That is not the Battle of the Bastards. That is season 3, episode 9. That is the Red Wedding. It is character motivations that actually make sense. Before Game of Thrones went off the rails, off the books, when it actually was based on, predicated upon character motivations that made sense. The Red Wedding is what changed television. This episode changed the series. It changed everything. It was about characters that made sense. When Walder Frey, when those doors closed, when the Reigns of Castamere begin playing, that changed television. It showed you that no character is safe, that when you make decisions, when you make mistakes, especially when you make mistakes, there are consequences. That is what the entire show is predicated upon. That is what the Red Wedding encapsulates perfectly, and that's what the Battle of the Bastards tears down completely.
All right, conceding the rest of your time. Here we go, guys. You're going to have 5 minutes. Again, back and forth. Brooklyn will cut in at one point to say 1 minute. Do not let that throw you off. Just continue as normal. So, 5 minutes. Have at it.
All right, so when you're talking about battles, when you literally said that it was the best thing shot, that is simply not true. There are 3 battles that are better shot than Battle of the Bastards. Blackwater Bay, 100%. Battle of the Wall at the end of Season 4, and also Battle of Hardhome. Those are all 3 battles that are all technically better filmed than Battle of the Bastards. Also, if you want to talk about character motivations, Sansa Stark is absolutely garbage in this episode, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but I'll let you...
Yeah, no, actually, when we're talking, great, I'm glad you mentioned Battle of the Bastards again, but I want to touch on something else quick. You don't even know the title of your episode. You kept calling it Red Wedding. No. You said in the episode, The Red Wedding. It's not called The Red Wedding. It's called Reigns of Castamere. I also want to reframe the question on you, Robert. You're talking a lot about... No. You're talking a lot about the end of the episode, The Red Wedding. That's the last 8 minutes of the episode. What about everything before?
It's not. It's a half hour. It's everything to talk about the Hound and Arya leading up to that.
I can prove it because I watched it before this. It's the last 8 minutes.
No,
and let me finish. You talk. So in your episode, in your intro, all you talked about was the Red Wedding and how good it is. That is the last. Fine, I'll give you 10 minutes of the episode and the beginning of the episode when Rob goes to talk to Frey. Everything in between has nothing to do with the Red Wedding, and your entire opening was about how good the Red Wedding is, not about the rest of the episode. So let's hear about the rest of the episode, Robert.
Okay, your entire episode is predicated upon things that are absolutely trash. You talked about the characters. You talked about the characters. In your opening, you said characters, the encapsulation of the show is about the characters. That's true. It's about realistic motivations. That is not your episode at all. Sansa literally says to Jon, you're doing a terrible job leading as a military leader. You need to think more. And Jon goes to her and says, hey, okay, what am I missing? And she says nothing about the Vail. She says nothing about the Vail. You look at Rickon Stark, a character that had the most potential the entire show, the entire 7-season show. Rickon Stark had the most potential of any character, and he couldn't walk in a diagonal line. That is absolutely trash. It tears apart the thing that show was predicated upon, which is surprise, which is about realistic character motivation.
It is surprising.
Does not make sense.
It is surprising. Okay, you're talking. Okay, once again, you keep using all these big buzzwords, and that's nice and fancy.
I said the word sense. What the fuck does that have to do with
buzzwords? All I'm saying is that you're talking about, like, you can't handle the fact that the characters would do different things than they do in seasons 1, 2, and 3, and so you're saying that these things that they do by let me finish. So the things that they do by season 6. That's suddenly bad because it's not in the books by George R.R. Martin, and they do something different in season 6. So in my episode, the fact that we finally get to see the Battle of the Bastards that had been teasing up for so long, and you say that it betrays the characters, the progression of the characters up to that point, it makes complete sense of what Jon and what Sansa will do.
Give me right now and tell me why Sansa doesn't tell Jon about the Vail. Tell me right now.
Because she's a tortured character at that point. She had been literally.
It's her brother. The entirety of the.
But she doesn't trust him.
No,
she doesn't trust him.
Why not? Well, then why doesn't she tell him?
Because he hasn't helped her up to this point. She comes back.
Yes, he does. You're a liar.
She doesn't.
He helps her. He shows her trust. He shows that bond through the Battle of Hardhome. Why doesn't she tell him?
She doesn't. Again, I'm telling you why she doesn't tell him, because she doesn't trust him. She doesn't believe him. So she thinks she can do a better job. So by her going and doing it herself, she's trying to prove that she's a better leader. She's a better leader than anyway. And no. I want to get back to the point that you still haven't told me what's good about the Reigns of Castamere other than the Red Wedding, because there isn't anything else.
Hound and Arya's bond has never been better than in this episode.
They're in 2 scenes.
Can you let me finish? You literally just shit on me for not letting you talk. So Hound and Arya, literally their bond is there. It's not just 2 scenes. Literally, it's them traveling to the Red Wedding. It's not just the Red Wedding itself. It's their interaction. It's their interplay. It's them showing why them as individual characters is so good. When you bring them together, it's the best the series has ever hit. It's about Robin to Lisa. It's Robin to Lisa. It's about how making mistakes literally has consequences. There are no consequences for the mistakes that Jon and Sansa make in the Battle of the Bastards.
What do you mean there's no consequences? There's absolutely consequences, but we're not talking about the consequences. Can you let me fucking finish? You don't let me talk about it because the the consequences happen in later episodes, and I'm not talking about later episodes. We're talking about this episode, and the fact that the Hound and Arya, they're literally in 2 scenes. You're making it sound like this is a 2-hour episode where they're running around and there's all this stuff, but it's literally 2 scenes, and everything else is boring and nothing else happens in the episode. The Red Wedding part of the episode is great, but the episode as a whole is just another episode of Game of Thrones. We've seen Arya and we've seen the Hound have good relationship moments, but we never got to finally see. We never finally got to see Ramsay. We finally got to see him get destroyed and get eaten alive by his own dogs, which is such an awesome way and a satisfying way to go. It was a satisfying episode, whereas your episode, it just left more to be desired.
Okay, you're arguing for most satisfying episode of Game of Thrones, not technically the best episode. Mine is the technical best episode because the epitome of what the show can.
Time.
1 minute. Whenever you start speaking, Robert, the floor is yours.
You talked in your opening about satisfying character moments, and while the episode is satisfying and it leaves a lot to be desired as well, because the character motivations don't make sense, and that the entire series of Game of Thrones is built upon the character motivations making sense. Yours is the first episode that begins tearing that down bit by bit because of Sansa, because of Jon, because of Rickon, because of Ramsay. All of that is torn away, and it doesn't become a show anymore. It becomes a spectacle, and that's not why I watch it. I don't watch it for the battle scenes. If you watch it for the battle scenes, there are 3 better ones that I already mentioned that are earlier in the show. You watch in the Reigns of Castamere, that is an episode of Game of Thrones. That is political interplay. That is relationships. That is character motivations, and that is consequences. That is Game of Thrones. That is the show. Your episode is a battle. It is Jon looking at an army ready to take him down, and that shot is the entire episode. There is no more depth to that episode other than that 1 second, because if you look even a little bit deeper into that episode, you see that everything falls apart because the characters do not make sense. That is not what Game of Thrones is meant to be.
Time.
All right. And Tim, 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
That might not be what it was in the beginning, but by season 6, that's what it was, and that's what most people tuned in for, was exciting sequences, seeing their favorite characters do incredible things. And by season 6, episode 9, Battle of the Bastards, yes, there's a big battle, and it is the best battle in all of Game of Thrones. It's incredibly well shot, it's incredibly well directed, acted, the suspense is incredibly good, and you get a very satisfying ending by seeing Ramsay eaten alive by his own dogs. You see Jon and Sansa, having that like back and forth. She doesn't trust him anymore. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the episode, but it's incredibly well produced. It's an incredibly engaging episode. Reigns of Castamere is not engaging. It's engaging in the last 10 minutes, but everything that comes before it is stuff we've seen before in other episodes, like Arya and the Hound. You didn't even bring up the fact that Jon is running around with the wildlings in that episode. Seen it before. Bran running around doing his eye thing. We've seen it before. It's all stuff we've seen before, except the ending. My episode was new.
Oh, thank God. Interesting choices all around for their picks. I don't have to decide any of this, so yay for me. Brooklyn, you have... I'm going to go to you first. Who do you got and why?
So I think this really came down to just the overall composition of the argument, and I think where attack and defense sort of led. I'm going to give my point to Tim. Tim gave me a more general sort of like balance of what his show is, and I think it was more so that he really got some good attacks on Roberts, where it was like, oh, it's the battle, but then there's also like it's only the battle, and I think Robert almost sort of like backpedaled, but like contradicted on like the idea of the show. I think that's where it lies, but I'm not the only judge here. There are 2 others, so I'm sure curious to hear their thoughts.
And I'm going to go to the next season judge on the panel, Kaleb Koho. Who you got and why?
You hear the crunching of the popcorn because I needed to be munching on this amazing content.
It looked like Gushers to me, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, the Cheetos, I'm sorry. This was a great fight. I was on the edge of my seat listening to both points all the way through. I heard a lot of attacking on both ends. So that kind of came to the sort of negation for me. I had to hear what the defenses were for each episode. And on that, I think Tim had a slightly stronger defense. I didn't hear as much of a defense for the Red Wedding Reigns of Castamere episode as much as I heard defense for the Battle of the Bastards. So I'm going slightly with Tim.
Okay, so Tim will get the first point. Boatman, where did you lie on this one?
I was also slightly with Tim. I really like Robert's argument about the Vail, but I think that wasn't quite enough because Tim kind of hit it in the head with the, it's about the whole episode, not just the Red Wedding arc. And I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin for Robert.
All right, guys. So Tim takes point number one. We are moving on to the next question. Tim picked this question. It is worst episode of Iron Fist. So Robert is going to open and then close this argument. So Robert, it's going to be 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
There is nothing worse than giving you a glimpse of something that could be so great just to tear it down and show you why it's so shitty. That is the definition of cinematic blue balls. And that literally is my episode of Iron Fist, which is The Blessing of Many Fractures. It is literally, it shows you how great the episode could be just to tear you down. It shows you how great the action could be and then tears you down, how great the characters could be and then tears you down. There's one line, one scene, one fight here and there that shows you what could be just to tear it down and show you, hey, actually it's pretty garbage. Iron Fist is a show without focus, and this is the most unfocused episode of the entire series, which is saying a hell of a lot. So literally, when you're talking about a series that has so many problems, is trying to go in so many different directions, the characters are so unfocused, and this is the worst of that, that determines the worst episode of this series for me.
Tim, 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
I'm not going to start talking about Robert's episode yet, but I do want to pick up on something that he said, which was he's right. The show, for the most part, is unfocused characters, fights, and stuff. My episode that I picked is season 2, episode 3, and it's called This Deadly Secret. And let me tell you, this episode doesn't even have a fight scene. It only has 5 characters, and they sit at a table and eat dinner and talk about their jobs and have a meal, smoke a cigar, and that's the end of the episode. It's an hour of that. There is no progression to the characters. There's no action in this Marvel episode. There's nothing. The first 2 episodes of season 2 are actually really excellent, great fights, great progression, and episode 3 brings it to a screeching halt. It is the worst episode because there was a lot of potential and it was ruined.
Well, all right. Worst Iron Fist episode. You guys both made me not want to watch this show by just your openings. After the 5 minutes, I'll guarantee not to watch this. So 5 minutes of freeform whenever you start speaking.
I'll just say off the bat, your episode, Robert, what was it called? The Blessings of Many Fractures. It's actually arguably the best episode of season 1 because you get Claire coming back, played by Rosario Dawson. She's fantastic. She brings a lot of energy to the show, and we get deeper into Joy and Ward's relationship. There's actually an amazing fight against the Hand in a warehouse at the end of the episode that is absolutely fantastic, and Madame Gao makes an appearance. She's really, really great. That episode is actually one of the best episodes of season 1.
I mean, that's just not true. If we're talking about like build up only to be ruined, you're talking about 2 episodes of build up. I had 7 episodes of build up before my 8th episode. Also, you're using words like amazing and fantastic. That's pushing it a little bit. That's in your opinion. If we're talking about opinions of critics, reviews, and even just general fans that watch the show, like that's definitely not true. Just like a thrown in appearance by characters, that doesn't really make an episode.
No, it's not. It's not a thrown in appearance. She's in the first few episodes. She goes away. She comes back. She's actually in probably like 6 or 7 of the episodes of season 1, and that's what I'm saying. She's a breath of fresh air into the episode. So I'm not claiming your episode is great by any means, but I'm saying that
it's one of the best of season 1, though.
I said it's one of the best of season 1. That doesn't mean that it's a great episode. It's one of the best out of a long line of shitty episodes, but it has some of the best action in the entire series. And when you said build up. yeah, my episode had 2 episodes in season 2, but it also had 13 episodes of season 1.
So, okay, here's the thing. If we're talking about interrelationships between characters, which is something that you brought up in my episode, it's actually terrible. The writing, he just like randomly goes to China because, again, unfocused. Your episode is focused. It is literally about the characters. You said they sit around and they talk. Like, that is a breath of fresh air. In a series, if you're talking about a breath of fresh air into the series, that they're talking. This is an interrelationship. That is something that we don't get in this series almost at all. And it's one of the parts of that season.
But they don't. But that's the thing, is the things that they're talking about have nothing to do with the characters moving on. The reason they have this dinner is because Colleen and Danny are trying to get Joy and Ward to kind of like make up, and they literally just sit there and talk about their jobs and their dad. But it does nothing to progress the story. If you take that episode out of the season would play out the same way. Whereas if your episode were to be taken out, you would be missing a lot of stuff because there's a lot of important plot points. And again, lots of great action, great character moments with Claire, Colleen, Joy, Ward, Danny, all of them.
We're not talking about the biggest impact on the season, though. We're not talking about the biggest impact on the series. You're just changing the argument. We're talking about specifically this very specific episode, which is the worst. Yours has a lot of great acting. It's great writing. Mine has terrible writing. The writing, it's just bashes of going like, oh, that's pretty stupid. Like, that's a literal line in my episode when they're talking about going to China. Like, that is terrible.
He goes to China. He goes to China to try to find out more about why he is the Iron Fist. He's trying to learn more about why he can't control and harness the power. It makes sense within the context of the story. This episode, my episode does not make context within the story. And you want to talk about it being written well, acted well? Have you seen it? I bet you haven't, because it's not acted well. It's not written well at all.
It is, though. Like, this is literally he said, she said, and like that's the exact same points in judging. So we should probably stop talking about that. But I think what is interesting about your episode is that it is different. It is nothing we've seen before in the series, and that is a breath of fresh air. When we had 13 episodes of season 1 and then 2 episodes of season 2 being the exact same thing, getting a scene where the characters just take themselves a little bit more lightly and they really just get into the relationships more. They just like chill out a little bit. Why is that such a bad thing? That doesn't make it.
Hold on. No, he's still got time. Go.
Yeah, that doesn't make it the worst episode of the entire series. I'll take that over terrible writing and terrible action any day. That episode is forgettable, and I'll take forgettable over actively bad 100 times.
You want to talk about actively bad? That is exactly what my episode is. You keep talking about how like them sitting down and talking is like this like genius like Shakespearean thing, but it's not. They're sitting down, they're literally talking about nothing that has to do with the show. And that's why it's the worst, because it doesn't do anything to progress the story. And like I said, the first 2 episodes made it seem like this was actually going to be a really great season of television, but it turned out that it wasn't at all.
Slow down the pace. That's not a bad thing. Just because it's not the first 2 episodes doesn't make it the worst. Again, we're talking about like 7 episodes of like season 1, which is build up into all these characters. We're going to find out all this stuff, and then he's going to go to China and find all this stuff, and then he doesn't. The writing goes absolutely nowhere. I'll take a slower pace and characters that actually have interesting things to say and actually have relationships between them, those actors playing off each other. I'll take that absolutely.
But again, you're talking about like him going to China is the only thing that happens in the episode. It's not. It's an hour-long episode.
Time. Okay, so Tim, you're going to start 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
Like I said before, Robert's episode is actually probably one of the better episodes of season 1, because the episodes leading up to it were not that great. And then when we finally got to episode 8, it was a breath of fresh air into the series. We got to see some great character moments, great action. They actually left the 2 locations that they're in and did go to China. He's talking like that's a bad thing. It was something that needed to happen to make the show interesting and to progress the story. But like I've said about my episode, it doesn't do anything interesting. He's talking about how them sitting around is great writing, great acting, and it's actually something different, but it's not. Most of Iron Fist is people standing in rooms talking. And the first 2 episodes of season 2 were something different. So the fact that all of a sudden we get this episode where it just went back to season 1, we realized how disappointing the show was. It was never going to be good again. This was the episode that dug it into a grave. Robert's episode actually has fantastic moments. It's a great episode, and he's just hanging on the fact that they went to China, but that's a good thing. It was a good part of the episode.
Robert, you're going to close it out. 1 minute whenever you start talking.
So in this fight, you've talked about how both sitting in a room is like new and old. You've said both, and it's really I don't understand your argument. So the Blessed Many Fractures actually like really demonstrates that the show is extremely unfocused. It's not just about going to China. It's also the big reveal that Madame Gao is like responsible, and it's this like really deep interactive like, oh, it's a big reveal, but it's so stupid. It's so convoluted. It is the epitome of everything that is wrong with the show. It is a lack of focus. It's convoluted. It's boring action. It's boring characters. It's boring relationships. Actually good characters, good relationships, good writing. That is what's in your episode. Your episode may be forgettable, but it's not actively bad. It's something that I'll actually watch. It's something that I'll go back to. It's not something that's actually enjoyable, right? My episode, it like makes you want to stop watching the show.
Okay. Conceding time. That works. You both convinced me never to watch this show, so I appreciate both of you for your contributions. Now I'm going to go to Boatman. Your vote did not count last time, so it's going to count this time. So let us know how you're feeling and why.
All right, this is going to be very, very close, but I do think I'm going to give the edge here to Tim. I think Tim hit more on Robert's episode while also hit more on his own pick while kind of defending some good things specifically about Robert's episode. Robert kind of tried to defend more the concept of the episode, but really didn't give me anything specifically about what was good about the writing of Tim's episode. So that's where I'm leaning towards Tim.
All right, I'm going to go to my co-commissioner, Brooklyn Vail. Maybe you've seen this, maybe you haven't, but let us know how you're feeling.
Yeah, I've seen Iron Fist. It sucks a lot. There was the back and forth was much better in this question. I applaud you. It can be better, but it was good. You guys changed the lead countless times. As I sit back and think about the argument, I have to give it to Tim. There were so many things in Robert's part of the freeform that he didn't tackle that Tim sort of attacked him on. I applaud Robert for the approach that he went with the episode. I thought it was really good, and I think with a couple more points you would have gotten a point. But yeah, I think Tim just narrow by a couple of jabs.
Fair enough. So Tim will take this point, gets a 2-0 lead in the finals. But I'm going to go to Koho. Koho, who did you have in this fight, even though it doesn't count?
As much as I love the term cinematic blue balls, that gave me quite a laugh. And I can't wait for that to become a term that we use a lot. But it was actually a really close fight. Robert did a really good job of kind of attacking Tim's episode. But again, he kind of defended the concept of Tim's episode rather than giving specifics about that episode. And Tim gave me a lot of specifics about Robert's episode that makes it good. So on the 51-49, I go with Tim also.
All right. Cinematic blue balls was just not enough to win this argument today. I hope we do not use that because that affects men daily in the world. All right. We are back. Tim has got a 2-0 lead. Going into question 3, guys. Robert picked this one as well. Wizarding World. We decided to stay away from Fantastic Beasts. We just gave you straight up Harry Potter.
Thank you. Non-magie.
Best scene in the Harry Potter series. So we're looking for the best scene. Remember the argument. Tim, you're going to open 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
Quite a few scenes in Harry Potter came to mind when this question came up, but what I ended up going with was in Deathly Hallows Part 2, when Harry takes the tears of Snape, drops them in the pensieve, and looks at his memories. And the reason I picked this scene is because Snape as a character in Harry Potter has always been, especially like in the movies specifically, has always been like you hate him but you love him but you hate him. You're back and forth until the end of Half-Blood Prince. He kills Dumbledore. We don't know why. Well, we find out why in this scene. It's incredibly satisfying to see him as a bully. You see him as a bullied child, then grow up to love Lily, Harry's mom. Everything comes full circle. Alan Rickman's performance in this scene is so fantastic. The fact that he wasn't nominated for an Academy Award here is criminal. Just the fact that he always knew that he always loved Lily, and saw James in Harry, but so he wanted to care for him, but just hated that. He was always meant to.
All right. Snape's tear is the argument in this one. Robert, 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
The reason Harry Potter is so brilliant is because of its visuals, it's because of its story, and yes, I'm going to say it, it's because of its themes. It literally is a story predicated upon the message that it is telling, and for that reason, I am picking the end of Order of the Phoenix when they're at the Department of Mysteries, from the time that Dumbledore battles Voldemort through until Fudge shows up and says he's back. That scene is peak Harry Potter. It is visuals. It is the only great true duel we have in the entire series. It is the themes, the storytelling. When we see Voldemort invade Harry's mind, when we see the occlumency, when we see Harry, the quote, you'll never win, Voldemort. You'll never know love or friendship, and I feel sorry for you. That hits so home. That hits your heart. That tears at your heartstrings. That truly, the point of life is love. It's friendship. It's having people around you that care about you. That's something that Harry has that Voldemort doesn't, and that is the meaning of Harry Potter. That's the meaning of the series. That's the meaning of the scene. That's why it's the.
All right, 5 minutes of freeform, guys. Tell me why this is the best scene in the Harry Potter series. Whenever you start talking,
Robert, you talked about the I'm going to use the word themes of love, life, friendship, things that Voldemort doesn't have, and that's exactly what my scene also brings. It's the fact that we thought that Snape was this evil character who hated Harry, when in fact he loved him and tried to protect him the entire time, even when he didn't want to. He was there for him in the forest in Deathly Hallows Part 1. He was there protecting him against things throughout the entire series, and that all comes to a head in this scene. And the fact that we get to see that here, it's absolutely fantastic.
Okay, so he didn't love Harry. He loved getting off to Harry's eyes. He didn't actually love Harry himself. He loved Harry because he reminded him of Lily. He loved Lily, and he only protected Harry because he was promised by Dumbledore, who was revealed to be a monster in your scene, that actually, don't worry, Harry's going to die eventually, so you protect him until that time is right. That is horrid. It is a betrayal of the character of Dumbledore, because Dumbledore is made to be one of the most genuine, the most loved characters in the entire series. You see his relationship with Harry in Goblet of Fire. You see his relationship with Harry, especially in especially in Half-Blood Prince, and you see that it's all thrown to shit because it was all a facade to make sure that Harry was going to be killed at the right time. Dumbledore was a monster.
Okay, so okay, yeah, I agree with you. He is turned into a monster, and that's part of the reason that makes the scene so interesting, is like this person who you thought was the loving person the whole time is actually a guy that, was a bit of a monster. And the other great thing about the scene is that Harry realizes what he has to do. He has to sacrifice himself, and even though Dumbledore lied to him about it, he's happy to do it because he wants to do what's right. In your scene, you say it's the best duel. It's not. The duel at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2 is better, and yours is just a giant CGI fight where Michael Gambon just kind of stands there going like this with CGI, and Ray Fiennes overdoes it, let me tell you.
Absolutely not. The duel at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2 is literally one spell. They literally throw Expelliarmus and Expanded Cadabra at each other, and then it explodes and Voldemort dies. That's the duel. It is one spell. No, it literally is, though. And the end of Order of the Phoenix, you see why Dumbledore was the greatest wizard, the only one that Voldemort ever feared. You see it in the battle. It is not overacting. It is brilliant visual effects, the best visual effects of the entire series. And if you're talking about emotional scenes from Deathly Hallows Part 2, you should have picked King's Cross Station, with Harry actually confronting Dumbledore about his monstrosity, about his lying, because that is a much more satisfying scene than Snape. In the book, Snape is more complex. In the movies, he's not.
But it's being played off in that scene. So you just said Dumbledore's turned out to be like the worst person ever, but then he's played as the hero again. So that completely contradicts what you just said. So, and again, in your scene, the part that I haven't gotten to yet in your scene is the whole thing with the occlumency with Voldemort going into his mind. That is done really poorly. It's the only film that's not written by Steve Kloves, and the fact you can tell because the writing is really, really bad, and that you can tell it's David Yates' first. And you can tell him that that's not the same. They do it very differently in the movie, and it's shot incredibly weird. It's not good.
I can go grab the book. It's literally the same thing from the book. It's not about the screenwriter. You don't need to bring it up about that. And if you're talking about shot differently, it's shot again the same way that it's brought about in the other scenes. It's about occlumency. It's about Voldemort invading Harry's mind. We see Voldemort invade Harry's mind and even get the Goblet of Fire. We see how invasive it is. We see from Harry's perspective how it's about somebody invading, somebody persecuting, somebody hammering down in his mind these very intrusive, very terrible thoughts. And again, that's a parallel to life. It's about these demons getting into you and you being able to say, no, I rely on love. I rely on my friends. I rely on the people around me to help fight this evil. That's what Harry Potter's about. That's what
but the thing is that it's what I'm telling you is I agree with the themes of it, but it's not executed well. The fact that all it is Voldemort going in there and then it's just flashbacks of scenes from the other movies with terrible voiceover. It's not executed well. If it had been executed better, and the fact that you didn't even pick the best part of this scene, the entire fight with Sirius dying beforehand in the Department of Mystery, that's better with Sirius dying. That's more emotional than Michael Gambon standing there going.
I never said emotional. I'm not talking about emotional. It's not just him standing there doing that. It's about Voldemort casting fire, Voldemort casting water. It's the glass shards.
CGI.
It's not. Can you please?
Okay. I said one word.
Okay. It's not just about him standing there and doing this. You're literally just dumbing it down to make my argument sound stupid, and that's not what it is. I'm telling you right now, that's not what the scene is. It's about intricate magic. It's about intricate CGI. It's about intricate wizards dueling to see the true battle for evil versus good. And it's not overdone. It's not done poorly. It's literally me saying it is and you saying it isn't. Like, that's a terrible argument.
But you're saying the same thing. You're saying the same thing about my scene, that it's not done as well or it's done poorly.
I never said that at all. I never said that at all. I'm saying that Snape is not a complex character in the movies, and I'm saying Dumbledore is betrayed as a character. That is a destruction of the character motivation in your scene. I never said it was poorly done at all.
Time.
All right. Heated debate. Robert, you have 1 minute to open, to close it out. So whenever you start talking.
You said in your opening that your scene is satisfying. It literally isn't. It shows one of the heroes of the entire franchise is seen through Harry's eyes, and his hero is his father. We see his father being an asshole, being an absolute dick to Snape. That is a betrayal of the character. We see Dumbledore being a monster. My scene is not just told in flashbacks. It's not. It's new footage of Sirius. It's new footage of James. It's new footage of Voldemort that we have not seen before. It's not just flashbacks. My scene combines everything that the Harry Potter franchise is meant to be. Incredible visual effects, great acting, great story, great moments, and great message. I have those 5 pillars of the franchise. You have maybe one of them in the acting of Alan Rickman. You do not have the visual effects. You do not have the message. You do not have the character moments that mine does. Snape is literally the least complex character in the book in the movie compared to what he could have been, and that's only because those scenes, those tears, focus way more on Dumbledore than they do on Snape.
All right, Tim. 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
You're talking about these 5 pillars and you say mine only has 1, but that's not true. It has all of them. You also brought up the fact that they show new scenes in the occlumency part of it. That's not true. It's not in that part. It's earlier when Snape is where you see James being a dick to Snape. That's later. That's not even in the scene that you're arguing, so I don't know why you brought that up. Again, I think that your scene is fine. It's a cool duel. It's not the coolest duel in Harry Potter. It's a lot of CGI. It's shot really weird, so like you can't really tell what's happening, and the performances aren't great, whereas the performances in my scene are absolutely fantastic. It progresses the character of Harry and Snape. You finally realize why Snape was such a tortured character. And yeah, you realize Dumbledore was kind of a dick and he did what he had to do, but he was kind of a dick, and it doesn't ruin the character. It just gives a new light to it. So when you watch it again, you see something different. And that's what this whole scene does. It brings together the entire franchise and all of the things that are great about it. It's the best scene in Harry Potter because of all of those things, because you get the best character moments and the best stuff.
Time. Whew. Very, very heated. We are going to go to Koho first. We lost some Cheetos. We lost some jelly beans in this fight. What else did we lose? But I need you to give me your vote for this fight.
We lost some fingernail clippings now. It started biting my nails. That's how exciting this fight is. But you can make that face, but everyone does it. Fuck off. But I think this was a great fight. I did not expect some of the punches that were thrown on both sides, and it got really, really heated. But I think at the end of the argument, I think Robert kind of got the point for me. He kind of tied in the entire series through the buzzword that we all kind of shrug at, the themes. He kind of was able to make that a really central part of his argument and take down Tim's scene while also bolstering his own in a way with a really solid argument at points. So I'm going to go slightly with Robert.
All right. Let's go crazy. I'm going to go to Boatman. Boatman, who do you got and why?
I think they both hit on each other's really well. I think they both had really good arguments for everything. But I think as far as who defended their own better, I think that's really what it comes down to. And I think Robert defended his argument a little bit better. I think when, Tim came out and said, oh, that's not the best duel in the franchise. That's not even the best duel. And he brought up the example of Deathly Hallows Part 2. Robert came in and said, no, the Deathly Hallows Part 2 battle is bad because of this, this, and this. And I think Robert hit Tim really hard with it betrays the character of Dumbledore. So I think Robert wins that point.
All right. So Robert is on the board 2-1. So I'm pretty sure we're going to a speed round regardless now. But Brooklyn, where were you siding on that? That was a very intense debate. So who do you have? Who did you have?
I feel like I've been saying this a lot recently as matches have gone on, but I think it comes down to the knowledge of the content. And I think it's that, like, offense wins games, but defense wins championships. And I think Robert got the point for me. I wouldn't say, like, completely comfortably, but, like, it was, like, but yeah, this was the least closest of the three questions that we've had. I thought he was able to take down every attack, or most attacks that Tim brought up. And Tim, to be honest, kind of got repetitive towards the end.
Fair enough. I thought it was clear on one side. It went completely different. So well done. That's why we have you two in this championship match. All right. It is 2-1 in favor of Tim, but we got a fourth question here decided by Tim. He went MCU. So me, Brooklyn, and Caleb decided on the question. We decided what character should be the next Avengers villain. We're going to have Robert open this. So we'll also close this question. But 1 minute whenever you start talking to Robert.
So we're talking about Avengers from now on. That's the new Avengers. We're talking Spider-Man. We're talking Falcon. We're talking Valkyrie. We're talking all of those. Maybe even Blade. Who the fuck knows? We're talking about the new Avengers. And who the new Avengers should fight next is not just another villain that they can punch to death. It's not just another faceless army. It's not just something that we've seen before. It's something new. We need to see MODOK, which is a character from the comics that has some basis in a multiverse, has some basis in the mutants. It has some basis of outside of all those things. You can really go any direction. It's a versatile villain. But most importantly, it's a mental villain. It's one that the Avengers have not faced before. It's a villain that is clever, that is manipulative. It's something that the Avengers are not just going to be able to punch to death like they have with every other villain in their series. We don't need to see that again because we've already seen it. We need something new, something refreshing, and MODOK is that villain. I'll get into Tim's argument a lot more later, but MODOK is something that is extremely mental, it's extremely psychological, and that's not something that the Avengers have faced yet.
Awesome. MODOK, not just a Schmodown team. So we're going to go to Tim next. You have 1 minute whenever you start speaking.
So I've picked someone who's more than just, like a Spider-Man villain. I've picked Norman Osborn. He's more than just the Green Goblin. He is a man in the comics who has infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D., infiltrated the government, and has basically created his own Dark Avengers to take on the Avengers. And I think that would be a storyline that could be really cool. And it's not just for one movie. it would be over the course of many films like Phase 1 through 3, how Thanos had been teased for years. Norman Osborn could be teased. They've already teased him in Ant-Man and the Wasp and Spider-Man Homecoming. And so then to bring him full circle, kind of hiding and doing things, shady things in the background, buying Avengers Tower, making it the Oscorp headquarters. He is more than just a man in a green suit. He is a wildly inventive and crazy and smart person who can outwit the Avengers as well as fight them. So I think Norman Osborn would be the best villain for the next more down-to-earth version of the Avengers.
MODOK, Norman Osborn. 5 minutes of freeform. Whenever you start speaking, go.
Go ahead, I went first last time.
All right, so which one of these villains is more likely to do a sky beam? Let's talk here. So I think it's Norman Osborn. No, but I'm glad that neither of us did like a faceless army thing, because that'd be dumb. So here's the thing about Norman Osborn. Without Norman, if you do Norman Osborn, you have to do Harry Osborn. And to do Harry Osborn, you have to have already that established relationship with Peter, which is nowhere. And also to do Norman Osborn, there's no way that there's a multi-billion-dollar company in New York City that hasn't shown up in the Avengers universe yet. Half of the Avengers movies take place in New York City. We're talking, it is too late, in my opinion. It is too late to do Oscorp, to do Norman Osborn. They needed to do this much earlier.
So here's how they do it, and they have already teased it. Sonny Birch, I know he's not in New York, but he's teased the fact that there's this billionaire out there who wants this PIM tech. And Spider-Man, Vulture is selling these weapons to a billionaire in New York somewhere. He has talked about how he wanted to do that. You talked about how, and you don't need to have Harry Osborn to do Norman Osborn. I think you're too close into those other last movies that did it poorly, and this would be different. This wouldn't be the Green Goblin, a Spider-Man story. This is him as an Avengers villain. You talked about MODOK being unlike anything because of his smartness. That's literally what Ultron was. He was one step ahead of them the whole time because he had all the information.
Okay, but that's not the same thing here. I'm talking about a villain. I'm not talking about a villain that's one step ahead. I'm talking about a villain that psychologically outwits that person. I'm having Andy Serkis as MODOK. I would love to hear your casting in just a minute here. But what I want to see is a villain who is a physical match, yes, and can shoot laser beams and has that CGI aspect where you can bring in some cool action, but the action, that primary action, is not the focus of the film. I'm talking about the new Avengers who are, let's be real, a little bit broken after Endgame. They're trying to come together. They're trying to find their way together. And a villain like MODOK is the perfect villain to transition into this new phase, to bring in new characters. You can bring in mutants if you want. You can bring in multiverses if you want. There's so many options that you can go with this character.
Andy Serkis has already been in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and has played a character, so I don't think they would bring him back for another villain. There's no precedent. There's no precedent for them to do that before. And you say that he is, a smart, like, MODOK is literally a man who was in an accident with AIM Industries and now is a giant head floating around in a chair. And I know the MCU has done a lot of really, really crazy things, but I think that's a little too much. There's a television show being made right now by Patton Oswalt. It's a comedy about MODOK, a comedy. And I'm sorry, but the Avengers, yes, they're funny movies, but we want to see something different, something new. And I think Norman Osborn would be really different and new.
Okay, but also, like, you can have MODOK without just that comedy. Like, just because there is being a comedy aspect being made doesn't mean that that's what this needs to be. Also, I think you're dumb and dumb by just saying he's a guy in a chair. Also, we already have AIM Industries. AIM was already introduced in Iron Man 3. There is precedent for this character to reasonably exist in this universe. There is not that precedent. A billionaire in New York could be. There's thousands of billionaires in New York. There are hundreds. There's a lot. There are more than just Norman Osborn. Just because they've teased that there's a guy buying a lot of Avengers stuff, that doesn't mean that they've teased Norman Osborn. It's too late. If the MCU wanted to do Norman Osborn, they should have done it 5 movies ago.
Well, they couldn't have because they didn't have Spider-Man yet at that point. And the fact that you literally just contradicted yourself because you said earlier, if there was a big billionaire in New York, we would have heard it by now. And you just said I said
Norman Osborn was in
No, you didn't. You said if there was a billionaire in New York, that we would have heard about it by now, which we did. And I think the fact that you could get Norman Osborn creating this Dark Avengers to go up against the new Avengers of Spider-Man, Black Panther, it's a grounded story. Valkyrie, you mentioned, I don't think she's part of the Avengers, but I think Norman Osborn, he could create this Dark Avengers, infiltrate S.H.I.E.L.D., infiltrate the government to come in and fight the Avengers. MODOK is, he's a cool concept of a character, but he wouldn't work in a feature film.
That's not true. You only say that because yes, he would work in a feature film. You have the action, you have the you cast a good actor in that role, you have the psychological aspects. Just saying that he wouldn't work in a feature film without any backup there, of course not. And my literal words were, if Norman Osborn, if Oscorp was in New York, we would have heard about it by now. I didn't say a billionaire. If Oscorp was in New York, we would have heard about it by now. And yes, you can argue rights things as much as you want, but that's the exact reason why you don't go Norman Osborn right now. That is treading into the past. That is a terrible villain for the Avengers to take on next. That's a Spider-Man villain. You want Spider-Man 3 to be about like is some version of Harry? Go for it. It's too late for Norman Osborn.
But again, like I said, I don't want the next I don't want the next movie, Spider-Man 3, to be about Norman. I want him to be, if this is the Avengers' overarching villain for the next few movies, the fact that he can come up, create this Dark Avengers to come in, and MODOK have the action. He doesn't have any special abilities beyond behind his mind. He doesn't have anything.
A lot better back and forth than that one. Okay, we are going to took 4 questions, but we are here, people. We are here. All right, it's gonna be 1 minute closes. Tim, 1 minute whenever you start talking.
I think that MODOK is a really interesting character. He's got the intellect, he's got the psychic powers, but as far as like action goes along with the Avengers, he doesn't want a faceless army, and I feel like the only way MODOK would work is if he had the faceless army for the Avengers to fight, because the moment somebody bests him and punches him in the face, he's done for. Norman Osborn is arguably one of the smartest people in the Marvel universe, and if you adapt this Dark Avengers storyline where they come in, he hires like a group of mutants and heroes to become actually villains and go with his side of things. That is an interesting story, something that we haven't really seen before. We haven't seen a guy come in and actually like completely 100% best the Avengers. You can argue that Zemo kind of did it, but it didn't really work and no one liked it. This would be a great way. And again, he's not the Green Goblin. He's just Norman Osborn. He's besting the Avengers, smarting them at every moment, but he can get in action and have great action in the movie. I think he would be great.
Okay, perfect timing, Tim. It's like you've been here before. Robert, 1 minute to close it out.
Zemo did best the Avengers, but nobody liked it. So let's just forget about that and do somebody else who could maybe do it better. No, Zemo did best the Avengers. He broke up the team, something that no other villain can say. If we're talking about MODOK, by the way, you're talking about an overarching villain. MODOK can do that too. He has the intellect. You're saying he doesn't have action? There are runs in the comics where he comes from mutant powers from the X-Men series. You can bring in the Fox story this way. You can bring in the mutants. This is a perfect way to segue into maybe Phase 4, Phase 5. Just because that he's a guy in a chair who has a laser beam doesn't mean he can't be an overarching villain. What I want to see is a villain with intellect that is overarching. I don't want to see a one-off 30-second intellect villain. I want to see one that can outthink them for more than one movie. That's exactly what the new Avengers need, is a villain that isn't going to sit there and stand toe-to-toe and punch him like Thanos did. It's a villain that can outwit them because of their inexperience. That is what the new Avengers need. That's what MODOK is. We already have precedence with AIM. We do not have precedence with Oscorp.
Whoo! I am so happy I am not a judge in this moment. You know who's not going to be happy that they're a judge? Brooklyn Vail. You get to go first on this one. Please tell me how you're feeling and why.
I'm kind of disappointed because I feel like this argument didn't really hit its stride until like the last minutes, even into the closing. Kind of was a stalemate up until then. But I'll give my point to Robert. I thought Robert had good offense. He had good defense. He sold me more, because this is ultimately a pitch question, and I know Cody hates these questions, but I adore them. I think these are great because it requires you to put on your salesman cap. And Robert sold me. His attacks against Tim were really good, and I think Tim just kind of got caught up in it. But I'm not alone. But I'll give a point to Robert.
All right. Robert is up 1-0 right now, but there's 3 judges for a reason. Gonna go to Koho. Koho, where are you leaning? Why?
For all the exact reasons Brooklyn said, I'm giving my point to Tim. I think Tim sold me better on how Norman Osborn works in the world, and countered Robert's attacks on why it's too late for Norman Osborn, while also taking down MODOK really well, and kind of using Robert's own words to sort of torpedo his own argument. So I'm going to be giving my point to Tim.
Okay, 1-1. Stalemate. Boatman, I know you're so happy to be in this position. Tell us where you're leaning and why.
Yeah, I'm going with Tim. I think Tim hit on Robert with MODOK just being a little bit too silly for this, and then kind of set up, defended all of Robert's points about it's too late for Oscorp and all that, and also giving us a really good idea of what Norman Osborn would look like coming in with kind of assembling this Dark Avengers. So I do think Tim gets the point.
Wow, that is not how I thought that fight was going. I had it kind of in a different way, but again, that's why I'm so glad I'm not a judge of this one. But no, Tim gets it. 3-1 lead going into the speed round. We are back. It is 3-1 in favor of Tim, but we are going into the speed round. Speed round is going to work like this. You're going to get 40 seconds to open, 30 seconds to close. Go back and forth. We picked the categories. Me, Caleb, and Brooklyn all picked one category apiece. I won't tell who picked what, but the first category is going to be coming in fandom Oscars.
Okay.
Thanks, Koho.
And here's the question. Best fandom score to win best original score.
Return of the King.
I will say Up.
Okay. 40 seconds. Robert, I heard you first, so you will go first on this. 40 seconds, Robert, whenever you start talking.
From the action moments to the intricate character moments, what we're talking about with Return of the King is a complete score. It is a score about the film, about the characters. Every character that has its own theme, every location, everything that has its own theme means something. It tugs at your heartstrings. It makes you cry. It makes you laugh. It makes you happy. It makes you sad. It thrills you in the action. This score is a score that complements a film more than any other. I don't even care about winning best original score. It is the best score for a film ever. Up, Michael Giacchino, there's no reason he should have won his score for Up. There are 3 or 4 other fandom films he should have won it for. Up has about 10 minutes of good score at the beginning and then becomes repetitive. It is everything that we've seen from that composer before. It's not original. Return of the King is original Howard Shore composing.
40 seconds, Tim, whenever you start talking.
Just to be clear, and I'm gonna let it go like whatever because I'm not sure. I thought we weren't allowed to attack in the first 40 seconds.
No, you're allowed to talk on the attack. That's okay. Only in Battleground.
That's fine. That's fine. I didn't know. That's fine.
You use your 40 seconds however you choose.
That's fine. I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Literally all of the reasons that you said Return of the King was the best is the reason that Ups is the best. Giacchino's score for Up is emotional. It's during the action sequence, just during the character moments, the character themes, all fantastic. The opening 10 minutes, it's all music. That people talk about that score, talk about that movie because of that first opening 10 minutes, and it's all the score that's getting you there along because the emotionality of the score going along with what you're seeing on screen is great. Lord of the Rings, great score, but it's no other than any other epic like Braveheart, Lawrence of Arabia epic score, whereas Up is something different, something that we weren't expecting from Giacchino, and it's no wonder he won the Oscar because it was the best score of the year. It's one of the best scores ever.
30 seconds, whenever you start.
We're not talking about unexpected win. We're talking about what the best score is that actually won. My film has an epic scope. My score has an epic scope. You have one character theme. It's Carl. That's the only character theme that you have. I have Frodo, Aragorn, Sauron, Gandalf, Legolas. You want to keep going down the list? I can keep going. Every single character theme is intricate and it is unique. Your score blends within each other. If I listened to a 10-minute sequence from this or 10-minute sequence from this from Up, I couldn't tell the difference between the two. Every single note of the score in Return of the King is unique and different from each other. It stands out.
30 seconds, whenever you start.
You listed all these character themes, but it's not quantity over quality. The fact that mine only has one big character theme doesn't mean that it's automatically worse just because yours has a lot. And I'm sorry to say that it's kind of invalid because those character themes that you're talking about were actually originally from Fellowship of the Ring and Two Towers and brought into Return of the King, whereas mine is a completely unique, 100% original score. And sure, there's unique moments that are new for Return of the King, but you're bringing in, you just argued for all these character themes that were made in other films brought into this one. Up is original and unique and different.
Whew. Okay. I guess I'm going to go Koho first. Koho, tell us who you got and why. This was your question.
I thought this was kind of clear cut based on the pick, and they argued it really strongly in their opening, and then kind of jumbled the ball and lost it in the closing. And Tim's closing was really shocking and really successful in winning me over. So I'm going to go very slightly to Tim on this one, unexpectedly.
Okay. I guess Boatman, tell us how you're feeling. Why?
I'm feeling that Tim won that one because I think he brought up the fact that, he countered Robert's point with the themes that Robert had brought up were actually from Fellowship and Two Towers. And I also think that he really attacked Robert with the Braveheart line and that it kind of sounds like a lot of those epic themes. So I do think Tim won that one.
And your winner and new Nerdgasm champion, Tim, the Hulk, Brzkala. Brooklyn, your vote did not count in the deciding, but where would you have standed and why?
If anybody's talked to me like the last like probably 10 matches of Nerdgasm, I've made it a habit to write down who won the point before any judge put it on. And I had Robert. Robert really sold me on just how the score attaches to the film. Tim's like, oh, these teams come from Fellowship. That didn't hit me as hard as the other judges. But my vote didn't count. But props to Tim. Yeah,
awesome. All right, we're gonna go to Tim first. You are the first Nerdgasm champion. How are you feeling? You had an interesting road here. I don't think it's how anybody would have kind of predicted it to go 4-1, but it went that way. So, how are you feeling?
I feel really good. I feel, obviously Robert's like my brother, literally and emotionally. So we're teammates. And I think that no matter which way this would have gone, one of us was going to be a little upset, but I hope he's not too upset. I'm happy I won. I didn't, I feel like it wasn't my best game for sure. But I think that, I really wanted to win. I'm actually kind of speechless. I'm really happy though. The one positive thing here is it's just another title in the Fellowship. So that's a cool thing that we can all be happy about. But obviously Robert has been my greatest opponent because, for all the reasons I said, like we're so close that having to fight each other is easy because we argue about movies all the time. But at the same time, some of those I didn't think that I was going to win. So the fact that I pulled out the W is awesome. But it's also, you don't want to see your best friend and brother lose, but at the same time, it's cool. So it's mixed emotions, but I'm very happy I won. I'm very happy that I was able to do this myself. With the help of some people, but the actual match itself I did by myself. I won a title. It wasn't in trivia, but I won a title, and I did it myself, and I'm really proud of that. I believe this is airing before the fandom singles thing, so I'm expecting to lose that. The three of us, me and Robert, then have 3 belts. We'll see how that match goes. Peek behind the curtain. We haven't even shot it yet, so we'll see how that goes. I'm excited. Yeah, this was fun, man. Yeah, I'm stressed.
All right, yeah. I just feel like a proud and sad dad all together. It's literally 2 sons playing in opposite sports teams, and I'm wearing split jerseys. It's not fun, but I'm proud of you. I think you did a great job today. I'm going to go to Robert next. Robert, how are you feeling? Probably not the best with the score, but I know with Tim being your brother-in-law, you're probably happy for him. Is there a question that you think you should have won? Stuff like that? How are you feeling overall?
I will never argue that I should have won something that I didn't, because then that is taking away from the judge's ruling, and that makes the league invalid, and that's not something I will ever do. because I've been in the judge's shoes when somebody's argued that, and it feels shitty. So I will never ever do that. The way the judges were, the way the questions were, debating is very, very biased, and that's how it's supposed to be. That's the point of debating. So with different judges, different days, sure, it could have gone differently, but that's not how it went. Of course, I'm a little bummed, but I'm happy that if I was going to lose to anybody, that it's Tim. Like, I'll take that. I feel like I definitely woke up about halfway through this match. Like, I think the Game of Thrones one I got really, really heated too quickly. I think both of us did. And then I've never seen an episode of Iron Fist, so it's whatever. But then, like, I think I really brought my absolute A game with those last 3 questions. And there's not a single point that I think I should have made in those last 3 that I didn't. So I'm walking away proud of how I fought those last 3 questions, and that's what matters.
Are you wanting to stick around in Nerdgasm?
I mean, it depends if I'm going to get something in the next 7 months. You know, Brooklyn will have to chat about that. So,
well, we actually had stuff on the books. Tim already, his number 1 contender is being decided between 2 people, and you also have a match to get back in there. And you will be playing, I believe, we can edit this out if I'm totally wrong with Brooklyn, but I believe you're playing one Nazario Montenegro in Nerdgasm. Tim is going to be playing either the winner of Jay Burns or Kaleb Koho. So,
classic Koho giving himself a title shot after 0-1.
Koho had no judgment.
I'm messing with him. I'm messing with him.
Right.
People in the comments are going to think like it's an actual dig, but I'm messing with him.
We actually decided that. So 2 matches are actually out there to happen. You will be playing Nazario, and then after those 2 matches are decided, we'll see how that works. And then the triple threats will start kicking off, where we have a bunch of newcomers coming in, and the league is going to be really fresh, and Tim is going to have to defend that belt a couple times for the remainder of the time. So that's going on. So are you willing to take on Nazario, Robert?
Absolutely. I think I debate best when there's really high pressure. Like, that's why not many of my matches have been knockouts. Only one of them has. And that's because I think I bring my A game when my opponent is also really, really good. You look at my debate against Kaleb, you look at my debate against Cain, and even those last few questions against Tim. I debate the best when the people I'm playing against are also the best. So yeah, I'm definitely down to play Nazario. I gotta take a little bit of time off to relax and, like, you know, chill out with Tim and not be mad at each other for a second. But yeah, by the time tomorrow rolls around, I'll be ready to get back in the ring.
And Tim, just a quick 30-second blur. Who would you rather play, Kaleb Koho or Jay Burns?
I don't know, because I actually played a little bit of Dark Nerdgasm with Jay the other night, and he beat me in both questions. Granted, they were on the cuff things I didn't really know about, but he beat me in both of them. So he's definitely scary. He's really, really, really good. I've actually never watched one of Koho's matches, but I've been in many a call with him where he yells and screams and shakes the camera. So that could be scary. I think I'd rather take Kaleb, but Jay would be fun too.
All right, and we can do this without the 3 judges. Thank you for taking the job, the weight off my shoulder. I had the main host. I'm going to go to Brooklyn first. Championship match, we got it. Probably, I think this could have went to the last question, but it was a very heated match all around. It started a chaos and went to actually respectable. So how do you think the first ever championship of Nerdgasm went?
It took like a couple steps. I think the first question, I think that was like, all right, let's get the jitters out, let's get the nerves out. Molly was really happy with this match. She thought that Robert won all the questions. I don't know, but yeah, I was tense in the judge's chair, and I haven't been this tense since I fought Cody both times. So that shows how tough the competition was. The score does not reflect the performances. The only one for me that was like kind of kind of like there was a clear winner. It was Robert. Either the other 3 or 4 could have went 50-50 either way. But I'm super happy with this.
Awesome. Gonna go to Koho. Koho, how did you think the match went overall? And do you think you have what it takes to take out Tim?
First of all, this was a great match. Robert and Tim both played really great games and had really great arguments. Though the score might not have been close, my board says otherwise. Of my points, it was 51-49 on almost every round. But in terms of playing Tim, maybe I'm more focused on Jay at the moment. If I can get past Jay, then I have to put a lot more focus onto Tim. But Tim's scary. Jay's a wild card. I think I can take Jay, and I think I can give Tim a good fight. But this is never a title that I expect to hold. It's more a title that I think would be fun to play for. So yeah, this will be fun.
All right, and one person that's going to be in the triple threat. Yes, you messaged in January. It will be coming up. Do you think, Boatman? Do you think you have what it takes to rise to the championship in this league? And how do you think the match went tonight?
I mean, debate is such a weird thing where it's like it's so subjective as far as like the judges go. So I think anybody can win on any day. Like if you have at least a good knowledge of like how to debate and stuff. So I think, it just kind of depends. Like if I get the right questions where I can come up with the answers that I can form like the best arguments over. As far as this triple threat, Tony Heald, Doug Cassell, I'm coming for you guys. Let's do this. I've got Elliot Dewberry and fake Kaleb Koho. I wanna take you guys down.
Oh, and with that, this has been the Nerdgasm Finals. Again, this is in Mayhem at the Multiplex, I believe. So please watch the other videos if you haven't seen the other ones or they haven't come out yet. Please go watch them, like, comment, subscribe. We worked really hard to put a great pay-per-view together, and I think that we did that here today. So for Brooklyn, for Tim, for Robert, for Kaleb, for other Kaleb, I have been Cody. Thanks for joining us on Nerdgasm. Have a good night and drive unsafe.
Drive safe.